It is difficult to imagine the Philippine educational landscape without the private schools. The private schools help the state fulfill its mandate of making quality education accessible to all Filipinos. It is in recognition of this role that the Fund for Assistance to Private Education, a permanent trust fund for private education, was established through Executive Order 156 on November 5, 1968. The Private Education Assistance Committee, or the PEAC, was created as the trustee of the fund. The PEAC is composed of the Secretary of Education as the ex officio chair and a representative each from the National Economic Development Authority, Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, and Association of Christian Schools, Colleges, and Universities. For the development of private education, the PEAC takes on the role of funder, advocate, partner, and enabler. A national secretariat headed by an executive director executes the policies, programs, and initiatives of the PEAC for private education. In 1989, a landmark piece of legislation, RA 6728, or the Government Assistance to Students and Teachers in Private Education, or GASPE, was passed. The GASPE Act, which was amended by RA 8545 in 1998, institutionalized government assistance to private education in the country. The EDGE's contracting or salary subsidy, or TSS. Senior High School Voucher Program, the IN or INSET, the Department of Education's GASPE program. The PEAC implements the GASPE program given the track record of the PEAC in program management. The PEAC has been involved in the development of the ESC, from piloting a scheme, which was a precursor to the ESC in 1982 to 1986, to implementing the ESC in 1986 to 1991, and from 1996 up to the present. The ESC today has close to 1 million beneficiaries. Part of the PEAC infrastructure for the GASPE program is the Regional Secretariat. The PEAC-RS is headed by the Regional Program Director, who designates a Regional Program Coordinator for the day-to-day program implementation in the region. The PEAC has the following responsibilities in the GASPE program: orientation, ESC certification, SHS voucher applications, processing, monitoring, resolving cases of schools with adverse findings, regular meetings and consultations with stakeholders, research and data gathering, in-service training. The PEAC is also accredited as a local continuing professional development, or CPD, provider by the Professional Regulation Commission, or PRC. Participants of the INSET programs offered by the PEAC have the opportunity to earn the required CPD units for the renewal of their professional licenses. From 2012 to 2017, the PEAC trained a total of more than 70,000 junior high school teachers, and since 2016, an estimated 17,000 SHS teachers. The PEAC also implements its own programs of assistance. The Assistance to Programs and Initiatives to Reform Education, or ASPIRE, gave funding support in the amount of 33.7 million to 99 projects of private educational associations since 2015 to 2016. The Research for School Improvement Towards Excellence has assisted 79 private school administrators and teachers writing their theses and dissertation since 2015 to 2016. The Dissemination Assistance to Research and Education, or DARE, has supported 16 faculty members who presented their papers in international conferences abroad since it was launched in 2016 to 2017. The Philippine Education Research Journal is an online resource for decision makers, policy makers, and practitioners in education. Its editorial board consists of highly respected educators and researchers. The Philippine Education Conference is an opportunity for school administrators and teachers to learn from educational leaders and experts here and abroad as they discuss educational issues, concerns, trends, and innovations. Recognizing the inherent strengths of the private schools in achieving excellence in Philippine education, the PEAC is committed to promoting private education as an integral part of our educational system.
Good morning. We are live today broadcasting from the PEAC National Secretariat with our special guests from Singapore and the various regions of the Philippines. Our webinar today is entitled Teachers in Post-COVID-19, How We Can Learn with Resonance and Learn with Creativity and Relearn with Faith and Hope. PEAC is celebrating National Teachers Month, and we're here not just to learn and have fun, but also to lift your spirit, our dear teachers, and send you some love because we know how much you've struggled this year. To start off, we would like to bless our teachers in this webinar. One of our special guests is the host of Kapet Pandesal of JESCOM Philippines. He's the Assistant Director for Formation at the Ateneo de Davao University Senior High School. I'd like to call now Father J. Boy Gonzalez, SJ, to lead us to prayer. Hello, Father J. Boy.
Hi. Let me start my video.
Yes, please.
I'm unable to start the video. I think the host has to.
Okay, our host will start your video.
There, okay.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. A pleasant morning to everyone and happy Teachers' Day. So let's first begin with a prayer. We acknowledge that we are all students in the eyes of God. We are always learning, and learning doesn't stop. And so let's put ourselves in the presence of God. Spend a few moments in silence so that we will be able to focus on what we're going to do today and focus on the role that we have, our crucial role as teachers. And so we begin. For the Catholics, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. We gather here today to ask for God's blessing on all these teachers, attendees, PEAC, and especially our speaker, Mr. John Yo, as we tackle with all our heart, strength, and soul our role as leaders in a global crisis such as the pandemic, among others. Dear Lord, teaching is hard, especially in unlearning and relearning, in remolding and recreating our ways of doing things, so that whatever we do in this vocation of ours, we may lead people to a knowledge of the new normal, a new world, and of God. May we strive to share our knowledge with gentle patience and endeavor and greater love, to bring the truth to eager minds. May we appreciate that under your eyes, O Lord, we are always students. So open our minds so that we can learn from each other as we navigate a different world. May we be enlightened in our hearts and minds as we reimagine the future with greater hope and renewed energy. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So good morning, everyone.
Morning, Father J. Boy. Thank you for that beautiful prayer. I'm really happy to see you here. I have been a fan of yours. I've been watching before Kapet Pandesal early in the morning when it was still showing at ABS-CBN. Thank you again, Father J. Boy, for joining
Thank you
us.
very much, Prezi.
Yeah, and Father J. Boy will be staying as one of our participants in today's webinar. Okay. At this point, I'd like to call now the Executive Director of PEAC to give her welcome message. Let's welcome Ms. Doris Fernandez Ferrer.
Thank you, Presi, our training officer at the Private Education Assistance Committee. And of course, thank you, Father J. Boy, for being with us, and hope you stay until the end of the webinar. Magandang umaga sa lahat ng mga teachers na nandito. Good morning, everyone. It is my privilege and pleasure on behalf of the PAC and Principals Academy to welcome you to today's webinar. Alvin Toffler wrote that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. For many, the term unlearn is one that is not often used in the school setting, because to most of us, educating is about augmenting knowledge. It's a gradual filling of a cup or a lighting of a torch, whichever analogy you prefer. But today's trying times have pushed us to walk away from what used to be normal. I don't think I'm out of bounds to say that teaching and learning might not go back to how it was before all of this, because since the pandemic struck, society had to unlearn and relearn quite a few times and in a myriad of ways. But with every unlearning, we saw how a relearning of a much better practice took place. With every unlearning, we saw how a relearning of a much better practice took place. Everywhere you look, people use the new normal to label this new, unprecedented situation we've found ourselves in. But allow me to challenge this. I don't believe we are in the new normal, but I do believe that we are on our way to it. The new normal is waiting for us to let go of everything this pandemic has exposed to be broken and even unjust, to make way for new practices and systems that will ultimately serve us and our communities better. We are honored to have with us our speaker, Mr. John Yeo, who is currently the headmaster of US-Singapore International School in Korea. Concurrently, he is also an educational consultant with Principals Academy and formerly the deputy principal of Singapore Institute of Management International Academy, where he crafted and spearheaded signature programs such as STEM and enterprise education. John was the first Asian recipient of the Ruth B. Noller Research Grant Award for his research on problem finding in creative inquiry in 2017. This annual award by the U.S. Creative Education Foundation supports emerging paradigm-shifting research with high potential for impact in the field of creativity. He previously held the position of Assistant Head for Professional Development in the Curriculum, Teaching and Learning Academic Group in the National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technology University, Singapore. He taught the master's level modules as well as management and leadership studies program in NIE, specializing in areas such as creative and critical thinking, problem finding, curriculum design, teachers' professional learning, as well as authentic assessment. He has written and co-edited books such as Mastering the Art of Authentic Assessment, Sustainable School Reform Through Lesson Study for Learning Community, and other publications. He was on the Ministry of Education's Critical and Inventive Thinking Task Force that proposed new curriculum directions and implementation roadmap for all Singapore schools. He was also the lead curriculum consultant for the National Review of MOE's Innovation Program under the Gifted Education Branch. Deeply passionate about curriculum reform, John engages leaders with dialogue on educational issues such as development of curriculum policies and designing for 21st century learning. John very recently co-founded Singapore Academy USA, incorporated in Dallas, a new approach to homeschooling offering that adopts Singapore curriculum and pedagogies for the US community. So it is with a lot of pride that we present to you today's webinar. But before I turn you over to our speaker, I would like to specially acknowledge our co-presenter for this webinar, Principals Academy Singapore. Principals Academy Incorporated Singapore was established on November 14, 2003 as a joint venture between Academy of Principals Singapore and Singapore Economic Development Board in response to Singapore government's vision of developing the nation into a thriving international education hub. Principals Academy's work revolves around the provision of professional development, accreditation, consultancy, and enrichment to educators and learners alike. Its mission is to be the leading provider of education resources and programs for the region. And so we'd like to thank Principals Academy for this opportunity to work with the Private Education Assistance Committee in celebration of National Teachers Month. Thank you once again in behalf of all the organizers for joining us today. And we hope that this webinar will make the National Teachers Month 2020, which is ending on October 5, end on a hopeful and positive note. My dearest co-teachers and my co-learners, Mr. John Yo.
Kumaste! Hello everybody, Mabuhay. My name is John. Welcome to the month of teachers. You know, I'm so excited to share with you this morning the many exciting things that's about to unfold. Truly, we are living in unprecedented times. But the heart of education, the calling to teach, and our mission to impact lives shall not falter. The reality is, all the more at times like this, our job as teachers need to be one of encourager, need to be one that abides and invites the spirit of the human nature to say, we are greater than what's outside. This morning, it is my great big pleasure to welcome not only my team, but a very diverse and awesome team of colleagues from Philippines who are going to join with us on Zoom. Hi, everyone. Yay. It's good to see you guys again. Yay, yay, yay. Today, oh my, these are people you're familiar with. And I tell you, in Philippines, I go back every other year and I love to meet people like you because you are all full of fun, energy, and love. Saranghayo! Yay! Now, stay tuned. We're going to have a lot to share. You look at the happy faces, but I'm going to show you some happy faces as well from this part of my world. May I please have the great pleasure to invite my team of teachers, educators, and specialists. And let me introduce them to you. Folks, come on in. First up.
Hi. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Yun Yi. I've just returned from my postgraduate studies in the UK and the US. So I was trained as a language teacher and I was involved in professional development and teachers training for several years.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Yi.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Cheng Vi. I'm teaching from primary to secondary school students, and also I'm very fortunate to be able to work with teachers at a school study developer.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me bring on the next two gentlemen. We have beautiful teachers here. Likewise, we have two handsome, awesome guys. Jackie, Timothy.
Hi guys, my name is Jackie. I've been teaching high school chemistry for the past 22 years or so. For me, actually, I'm quite fortunate to be able to expose to a wide variety of teaching students at different levels, also at different intellectual capacity. So right now, actually, I'm doing IB, the International Baccalaureate. in an independent school in Singapore. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. We'll come back to you shortly. Timothy.
Hi, I'm Timothy Joshua. I'm a writer and I'm also a level head of English in a local secondary school. In recent years, I've been working with differentiated instruction to see how we can better teach English in Singapore.
Great. Thank you, guys. Let's take a seat. Now, the next two coming up, they are just amazing. They are not teachers per se, but as long as we do the work of touching lives, let me please introduce to you Albert and Reverend Dr. Peter Poon.
Hi everyone, my name is Albert. Some people call me the architect because I was once the architect that actually crossed path from design into education. And I believe that educators, we're actually building people. So the elements of design and architecture actually fits in that realm very, very well. So today I'm really excited to be here with all of you and I look forward to learn and unlearn and relearn education with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Albert.
Hi, I'm Peter Poon. They normally call me Reverend, but I say it is irrelevant to be called Reverend. All my years in my life, I've been in the pastoral ministry, and my deepest concern is the next generation, because I feel that the next generation hold the key to the future, and if we do not do anything for them, we're going to lose the whole generation and the rest of the future that we will have.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. Let's take a seat. And so shortly, I'm going to invite them to all come forward to have some discussion together with our panelists from Philippines. Are you guys ready? Give me a big high five, everyone. Yay, yay, yay. And that is to all our Facebook Live friends. Woohoo! I was told they were busy dancing last night. So later on, you can see all of them. All right, we'll be jumping into the dance later on. There is a purpose and a reason for everything. But as we mentioned, in such difficult times, the heartbeat and the soul of human arises when we are able to look beyond the current challenges. I mean, I'm a biologist by training. I've taught biology for 22 years. I was doing neuroscience. I was doing a lot more about understanding evolution and understanding what in us allow the indomitable spirit to rise up. Some may say, John, we're living in difficult times. But today, allow me to invite you to reframe and to seize this opportunity to start looking at what learning can be, what learning may change to be, and how might we relearn. The second part of relearning, to me, is the highlight of this morning's webinar. The reality is, human beings are habits, creatures of habits. We love habits. It gives us stability. It makes us feel good. It gives us structure. It allows stability, order, and of course, patterns comforts us. But today I invite all of us to challenge that notion and to start questioning why and how can we make change not only less painful, but perhaps to seek for a better solution. And more importantly, how might we arise that boldness and courage to make that creative stand, not alone, but with people who says, I think we can do it. And finally, when we come to the final part of this morning, where we talk about relearning. The relearning part of us makes us younger. The relearning part of us gives us the sense to say we have a collective future and a vision that gives us empowerment, inspiration, and seed that hope of possibilities. First up, let me invite our studio guests in the Philippines. Gentlemen, can I invite you all to please raise up your item of importance, endearment, and personality. Ready? 1, 2, 3, guys. Oh, I see a guitar. All right, I see an amazing thing. I see a lot of phones. What's that? What's that? Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, I see food as well. Woohoo! To our Facebook Live audience, do you have a personal object, something that draws meaning to you? Before I invite them to share a bit more why that is special, I want to thank my friends from Ateneo Manila. Ateneo High School Manila, I have a lot of close friends there. I've done several training with them. And Joseph de la Cruz actually posted a picture of his favorite Transformer toys recently because the Department of Education says, guys, it's time to look at learning differently. Depending on the readiness of the community, depending on the readiness of the school, maybe face-to-face learning might take a different kind of format. And I understand at this moment that not all of Philippines is ready for digital learning. But our friend Joseph shared a photograph of his Transformer beside his laptop. And it reminded him that there is a transformational nature of him. I said, Joe, can I borrow that photo? And he started arranging a lot more Transformers. And he says, this gives me power. And so I'm gonna invite Francis. Francis, can you show us what your item is and speak to us, please? Francis, what is that and why is that personally meaningful to you? Francis, please.
Hello, I'm having my phone. This means so much to me because every time I wake up, I have to log in to school. And then my students would message me in terms of the requirements if there's anything they need to submit. So, and also schoolwork is done through this phone most of the time. It's small, but it means a lot in my way of teaching with my students. And I can do a lot of things with this.
Amazing, thank you, Francis. Michelle, share a bit about what you have and why is that personally meaningful to you? Michelle, we can't hear you. Oh.
Michelle, kindly unmute your mic. Thank you.
I did. Somebody muted me. Anyway, I have with me my AirPod Pro. I want to listen to the music. Why? To reduce anxiety that is brought about by this new normal. And of course, that will keep my brain active. Okay, though I am aging. Okay, that's it.
You know, guys, this morning, if you tell yourself I'm aging, I'm old, we're gonna rebound that and say I'm young at heart, and I'm gonna live with that in glorious moments. Right, guys?
Okay.
High five! Anyone from Philippines that you don't have a tech-related item? Raise your hand. Anybody without a tech-related item? All right. Can we have the lady in red, please? Yes. Okay. Someone without digital, without technology, speak up. Let's unmute our Zoom audience.
Hi.
Yeah. Dr. Helga.
Hi, I'm Desiree. Yeah, I have my eyeglasses. This is another one of the 4 pairs I have. I cannot do without this. First, because with this, I see things more clearly. And in this COVID pandemic era, I think I see with clarity the challenges that the era brings about. And surely, because of this, I see more opportunities. I see limitless solutions. I can see alternative ways. And with this, I am sure I can tackle the next steps. I will not get down. I shall move onwards.
All right, and with that same spirit, we're gonna move onwards together. Philippines, can we do it? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let me invite my friends from Singapore, Yinyi and Chengbi. What items did you bring that's of personal relevance and purpose for us?
Everyone, hi. So John tasked me with bringing something, so I brought a hat or a cap because I think as educators, we wear many different hats. So not only are we a teacher, that we impart skills and knowledge, we also play the role of many other roles such as being counselors, being mentors, being discipline mistress or masters, being comedians, and also being administrators, and now I think also IT and Zoom experts. So I think we share many hats, and hopefully we'll get through this together. All right, over to Jingwei. Yep.
Okay, hi, Cheng Wee. So for me, it's the power bank, which I don't really used to need, but nowadays I realize I need it because I need to stay connected. Because now a lot of things have gone online, so I cannot have a moment without my phone and things like that, which I don't used to use all the time last time. So now this power bank is very easy. It also reminds me that I need to recharge and relearn to go through all this. Thank you.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, for our Zoom audience, can I invite now everybody to please type in the chat box, putting aside your personal item of meaning, what might be a personal challenge that you are right now facing or worried about the near future? What might be your perception of what this year might bring? Where are the chaos? Where are the pain spots? How might we look at learning differently? What troubles you? Take 30 seconds, please, to type a line. What troubles us? Please. So I read from Jano. She says that this worried about the future of our children. How true, Dr. Desiree, that lack of confidence, the inability to travel for work or more, definitely. Unfamiliar situations, the challenges. And the fact that failure is not an option. Routines have changed. The next generation may be less people-oriented. How true that is. Pandemic, this is powerful. Evelyn, get ready to talk about this later. Pandemic decreases enthusiasm to learn. That is painful. Thank you, Michelle. We can't meet our family and friends. How can our students appreciate life and the activities that they've experienced? We recognize too that, as Ralph Lee says, the need for students to interact. And lack of physical activities and challenges, so true. Plus inputs, anyone. People will be more detached. Thank you. Can I invite please Evelyn to share a bit more about what you wrote? How does this pandemic, when you wrote that this pandemic decreases the enthusiasm to learn meaningfully among our learners? Evelyn, please share with us, please.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I am quite worried that because of this pandemic, instead there is no substitute for me for a physical face-to-face interaction between the facilitator, the teachers, and the students because of this pandemic. So instead of having to learn meaningfully, the learners, the pupils, the students, the children tend to turn on other things in their laptop and computer instead of learning. So they turn on the Mobile Legends and other games that for me, it is not helpful. It does not help them at all. So this pandemic really is very annoying, and it's a great issue for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. And you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is so true. Look, while we here says our students are struggling and technology lessens that human interaction and learning becomes less meaningful for us. But pause. Of the people that we have held up our items of personal relevance, how many of us, even my friends here, had a digital product on hand? How many of us can live or cannot live without our digital devices anymore? Our first Francis said, right? The first thing in the morning, what do you see? We see our assignments, we see our work, we see our students, and where are they? They're not face to face. Where are they? They are all here. Ah! Good morning. Yes, this is painful. You know, last year when I was invited to speak at the National Teachers Conference in India, and Interestingly or ironically, the topic that they gave to me to speak on the national level is looking towards a stress-free curriculum. Singapore. You hear me right? Let me say that again. Yes, my live audience are all laughing away. Learning towards a stress-free curriculum. Singapore. I was scratching my head. How can we be stress-free when we're talking about high-stakes exams? How can we be stress-free when all our technology is constantly telling us what to do, when to do, rushing deadlines and all? And when I did more research, I realized today with technology, with the inaffordances of technology, in fact, what's happening is people are committing suicide if they lose their mobile devices, because their whole life is in just one little thing on their hand. And that worries me. Well, clearly there's eustress, which is good stress, and distress, which is stressful, bad stress. Right? We can't, let me say that again, we can't choose to not live as teachers without technology, because technology truly can be an enabler. And with technology, it really does make learning a lot more pathways, because it opens different ways of looking at how we might channel differentiated and personalized learning to our students. But clearly, there are challenges. Let me ask now another question to my audience here. Vinny, come on, please share with us. In terms of what you observe of our students and teachers and the professional development work that we do, how do you see that change right now? What are the challenges that you're seeing?
Hi everyone. So I think I'll begin with a quote. By this American psychologist, Lee Schumann, that says that teaching is actually one of the most daunting or most frightening careers ever. And it's like, he likens it to being a doctor in an emergency room operating. So I guess as a teacher trainer for many years, I think one of the things being a teacher is that there are a lot of things that we are anxious about. And then of all the things that we are anxious about, one of the things is that whether or not our students are learning, we might be going at 4G speed. Our students might only be absorbing at 3G or 2G, or worse, they might be in autopilot or arrow mode whenever you start to talk, or they might just shut down whenever you start to share with them. So I guess that's one of the things that we are worried as educators. So I was involved in research in assessment. So assessment is a very critical part of learning. So how do we know whether our students are absorbing what we are teaching? So we have to have assessment to understand the learning gaps. And then we have to make sure that the exams or the tests that we have are valid, reliable, and fair. So that's the research that I've done in the past few years, and I hope to have the opportunity to share with you all on a different platform. Thank you.
Great,
yeah.
Thank you, Yuni.
Thank you, John.
And truly, Dr. Yuni's work is one that challenges us to relook at how might we assess learning for meaning. For the longest time in my book on authentic assessment, I have made a clear distinction between assessment, evaluation, and measurement. I'm going to see this thought with you. How in these current times, especially with the need to use technology to engage our learners with still concepts to teach, not to cover, but to uncover. Let me say that again. That we as teachers still need to teach to facilitate concepts, not to cover content, not to cover facts, not to cover the syllabus. But how might we use technology as a way to uncover learning in times like this? Let me invite my next friend, Cheng Bi. What are some observations that you have of our learners and teachers today struggling with?
Okay, hi. For me, I think during this period of time, I realized that the children nowadays, when they learn online, it's very hard to get them to focus. So they may be with you on Zoom, but their phone is in front of them, or they might be doing some other thing. So sometimes it becomes a challenge that whether they are learning or how much they're learning. So after a while, I actually thought that maybe I should relearn also how I can get through to them. So another thing that I actually look at this period of time is that how can I go deeper into the subject to find what is the thing that will interest them, so that they will try to learn on their own also. So it made me think that nowadays might not be a teacher-led kind of learning. It might be a student kind of led of learning, whereby they wanted to know more. How do we interest them to know more so that when they are learning online, they also will be with us interested in whatever we are teaching. So that's a very big change to me, and something new to me, which I'm trying to find ways to work with the students.
Great. And you know, thanks to Inyi and Cheng Bi, and I'm going to invite them shortly, both up together, to give us something that will challenge even us, our live audience on Facebook, as well as our colleagues, our panelists from Philippines, from PAC. This is my observation. When COVID just started, I've done a couple of action research, studying how teachers interact with students on Zoom or Google Meet. And this is what I realized. Teachers still teach, cover the content by running through the textbook, by running through the assignments and explaining them step by step. But if you were to capture from an action research standpoint, the observational notes, and this is one of my research methodologies, using video analysis, and you see how students respond, when students look up, when do students look lost, or when do students look excited. And even the depth of their thinking. I'll tell you, in my work on the performativity of teachers, in terms of how teachers have to mediate change with technology, how teachers have to cope with saying, are my students learning? Are they lost? What do I do? Hey guys, let me tell you one thing. Just in case you think your students look so excited, looking at you say, yes, my dear teacher, I understand everything you say. You are an awesome teacher. But you know what? Because I can just step, step, step. My face is there, but actually I'm not looking at you. You can talk for all you want, but I'm just smiling. But I'm looking at Facebook. I'm looking at Instagram. I'm looking at talking to my girlfriend. I'm even talking about you with my other classmates. Say, she's talking on non-stop, on and on and on and on. When will she stop? But actually in my face, I'm like, yes, teacher, I understand. And you call them, hey, any questions? No questions. How do you know whether engaged learning has happened? Today with technology, let's face it, children knows a lot more than we do. They might be playing Minecraft for all we are talking about. They may be jamming with each other on Roadblock, but we are here still teaching about biology and chemistry and physics. With what we just faced, if my research and problem finding and my excitement in the work that I do, especially with creativity being my subject matter, has a way to deal with this current situation that you are facing. How might we find fun ideas or innovative ideas to overcome that right now? Ladies, come forward, please. And they are not prepared for this, but I'm going to ask them to do this. Please bring your item. Oh, my Filipino friends in Tagalog. Okay, I don't want to embrace myself, but now, with what we mentioned earlier, you talk about a challenge on hand, and you have an item of personal relevance and meaning. How might this item help you to overcome the challenge that you spoke about? Ladies, gentlemen over there as well, let me pose this question. If you have an item on hand and you chose this item because it's personally meaningful or relevant, and yet you recognize that on hand, you also have a real challenge and obstacle, how might this help you to think differently about your problem? In creativity, this tactic or strategy is called false connection. Let me see how good my Singapore teachers are. It looks like they're look at them, oh my God, look at them. They're like, all right, ladies, come on.
It's a surprise question. It's construct irrelevant. No.
Let's go.
All right, in assessment. Okay, so I have a cat with me, so I guess I can either cover my eyes and pretend not to see, or I think I should be more empathetic. I think as a teacher, we should definitely put on the role of a counselor or like a life coach more often, and step in the shoes of our students and understand where they're coming from. For example, if they really like games like what's the most popular one about sorry? Yeah, Mobile Legend and Identity 5. I'm not quite sure if any of you plays that. Minecraft. So maybe you can also try exploring all these games. And I'm quite sure they teach strategy. I play games with my children as well. So I guess there are a lot of strategy and teamwork involved. So put on the cap of a mentor and life coach and understand what exactly is happening in your students' world. Yeah.
Awesome,
okay.
awesome.
That's my answer to this ad hoc question.
It's an ad hoc question, but sometimes we just need a little bit of randomness. Randomness will allow us to kick up some new ideas. The truth is this, with a hat, we wear many different hats as a metaphor, isn't that true? So if I were to wear different hats, why don't I change another hat? If I'm always used to wearing, may I borrow, please?
Yeah.
I wash my hair. If I'm always used to wearing a hat like this as a teacher, what if I turn it around and say, hi guys, today our theme is on baseball. Right, how might we look at baseball from an urban design standpoint? How might we look at immigration or migration from a baseball standpoint? How might we look at algebra from a baseball dimension? When you add on a new layer that adds novelty to the challenge, sometimes some of the ideas just says, why didn't I think of that? Maybe say that again. The power of creativity is when we are able to use strategies to empower and excite ideas. And when students themselves see the relevance of these ideas, the aha question in their mind should be, why didn't I think of that? Something is clicking for them. In times like this, we want students to click for themselves and not for us to tell them, this is the thing to memorize. Is that true? Thank you. Let's invite Chengbi. This is Tess.
Okay, so this is the charger. So for me now, I was thinking, how do I be more mindful? Because I used to always forget to charge my charger, and now I have no power also. So I have to be more mindful of what the children is going through, what they're thinking, and how do I make the things relevant to them to engage them, and also to give them a little shock every now and then to get them with me, so that they will be online with me. Yeah.
Thank you. She passed the test as well. When I talk about authentic assessment, testing is an important part because why? You want students to own that learning. Chengbi, as a teacher, let me model this for you. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of them were also my ex-students. Chengbi was my student when she was doing her master's in management and leadership studies, right? And that was about how many years ago?
9 years.
9 years ago when she was in my class, and I was wowed by her because instead of paying attention in my class, a typical teacher will go and say, excuse me, why are you not listening to me? I'm the teacher, I'm talking, you should be listening to me. But this woman here was busy doodling and drawing. Instead of scolding her, I went and stand beside her and look at what she was doing. And man, I was impressed because this woman draws some of the most beautiful, amazing mind maps. She writes down everything I say and puts a picture to it. I was like, did I write that? Did I say that? I was like, she made my words look so good. I was so touched. That aside. Thank you, Chengbi. One of the things I thought was useful from Chengbi's idea of a power bank is this. A power bank can definitely do more than one thing. Our conventional notion of a power bank is that it re-energizes, it recharges. But can a power bank allow us to also capture memories? Can a power bank allow us to have a feature that illuminates understanding? Think about that. Why must a power bank only serve a particular purpose? Why can't I redesign the power bank for other users? This is the power of reframing. And this leads me into the next part. We're now going to invite all of our audience there, also on Facebook Live, to think along with me. Instead of me giving you a definition of what resonance means, how about this? I have on hand a Newton pendulum. If our next part of this morning's webinar is about learning with resonance, please type in your chat box what learning for resonance
means. Let me say that again. How might this help us to better understand what resonance means? How does resonance look like? How does resonance change? What is involved in resonance? Let's take 30 seconds for this to happen. Invite everyone, please, to key in. How does resonance help us to learn better? Clearly, in a Newton pendulum, what we see is motion. For physics teachers, clearly this is something we can relate to. But if I were to now reframe this into talking about learning with resonance, what might this be? Let me look at your responses. Beautiful. Connecting with ideas being learned. Resonance means being flexible and resilient, lasting effect. Echo, there's bounce, there's reverberation. Real learning continues after the teacher initiates and passed on. Transferred even after a class. I like that. Transfer of learning. Resonance being clear. Thank you. Impact. Beautiful. Ruby, to resonate is to empathize, to relate. Let's ask, Ruby, please share with us, why did you choose one word, impact? How does this help us to understand learning with resonance from impact? Ruby,
hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, good morning. So I'm Ruby from Iloilo City, Philippines, representing Colegio del Sagrado Corazón de Jesus. I choose impact because as teachers, we should speak less but deep. This is what I've learned from Ma'am Terry before. Teach less but deep. So whatever we teach to our students is nothing if there is no impact to them. So we make sure that what we are doing, what we teach, should have a meaningful impact to the life of our students.
Thank you, Ruby. Well said. The impact part where students, the learning is felt. The learning becomes real for them. I have so many awesome responses. I wish we can go on the whole day. Don't you wish we can go on the whole day, guys? You guys are amazing. You don't need me, man. Making sure that learning endures, making sure that it's personally meaningful. But I have to pull up somebody that I am very unhappy with. I'm very unhappy with this person because since 6 years ago, when I met him, Father J-Boy, he just got me thinking and thinking and thinking. Father J-Boy, you are a little naughty to me because recently your video to encourage your colleagues and your friends, your YouTube video, I'm a follower, I'm a fan, man. And you talking about your physical disability and at the same time, you sharing your learning of how practice helps you to master that beautiful piano piece. Father J-Boy, you wrote this, learning has meaning, purpose, and direction. Whoa! Father J-Boy, please talk to us. What does learning with purpose, meaning, and direction mean? Father J-Boy, to you. Father J-Boy, where are you?
There, okay. I was muted, that's why. What I mean by learning is that, you see, like Wikipedia, there are a lot of things that you can know. There's an accumulation of knowledge.
Yep.
And then at the same time, you get confused about which among these things that I know is meaningful to my life, meaningful to other people's lives, meaningful to the country. You know, I think learning is about a greater meaning. The impact that this knowledge will have on the betterment of society. I think that creates importance. That would motivate me to learn, because I don't think I will be motivated by just memorizing.
Yep.
I'll be motivated because it will create an impact on my life, my family especially, my friends. That's why it is important. So if there is selective hearing, can we say selective learning? Trying to shift what is meaningful for me among all of this accumulation of knowledge that you get to see in the internet. I think for teachers, we need to ask our students which among the things that they get to see or they get to encounter or even learn from social media is meaningful to them. They don't have to accept everything, but at least to decide and to reflect which is relevant and which has a greater impact on people's lives. That's the first thing. And second, when I say about a certain purpose, it tells you about who you are. You see, who you are is very important. You are not other people's. Your life is not like other people's lives. You have your own uniqueness. And to me, that is very important. When I did that video, I was saying also to people, I am unique. People say, I am a weird priest. Yes, I am a weird priest. And I'm so proud that I am a weird priest. Yeah. Because aren't we supposed to be different? Because our being different is the person that you share to your students. Nothing beats students interacting with a teacher who is so authentic.
Oh, Father J, but that's well said. In fact, at this moment, let me pull up my live audience, because one of the things that I struggled last time as a head of department and later on as a vice principal, talking about teaching, is making learning relevant and authentic to our learners. And oftentimes students, especially at the higher level in junior college and the high school, struggle with learning chemistry because they want to learn chemistry because, why? I must be a doctor, and being a doctor requires me to have triple science, right? But to me, if you're a good teacher, you make the learning come so real for us. Let me invite Mr. Jackie Wong. Jackie, tell us a bit more. You're a chemistry teacher.
Hi everyone. Yes, I've been a chemistry teacher for all my life.
For all your life?
I look very young.
So Jackie, tell us, how do you make learning relevant, especially chemistry? Very often times, the concepts like stoichiochemistry and all that, they're too abstract.
Yeah. Okay, maybe I just share with you, being a teacher all this while, I realized for most high school students, chemistry is actually generally perceived as a very difficult subject. Okay, the reason for that is because most students actually find some of the topics in chemistry rather abstract. So it is very difficult for them to be able to relate certain concepts to real life application. Yeah. Okay, but I think despite this, like what John has mentioned, I think many students still wanted to actually opt for the subject because actually it's a prerequisite, maybe in Singapore, for example, for entry to medicine. Yeah. So I think it's imperative for us to really connect the dots in chemistry.
I'm struggling to connect the dots. So you have too many dots. Yes. When the concepts that we teach are too abstract, question to us teachers, how do you connect the dots for your students? I mean, the fact is, the dots are all in the textbook. The dots are all in Google. How do you connect the dots? I mean, sometimes I look at a teacher who's struggling or a new teacher, and the way of connecting the dots is underline this word, important keywords, underline this word because it's going to give you 2 marks for your exams. Right? But that to me is not connecting the dots, because the dot, once you underline and you put it in the answer key, after the exams, it's gone. How do you connect those dots? That is important concepts. And you believe as a teacher authentically that I need you to learn this because there is relevance to this. Give us a real example, sir.
Oh, that's a tough question. All right, let me think. Okay, basically, for example, I'm not too sure. I believe most of you have taken some form of chemistry, maybe at the middle school level. Yep. Okay, one particular topic that I can think of is, for example, in ionic bonding, right? I guess ionic bonding is a topic or concept that actually most people can't see or even touch, right? So how then do we actually teach this topic in ionic bonding? So for me, I would like to think of it as a subject or a topic that behaves like human beings, right? So every time when I talk about chemistry, I want them to actually imagine that particles are just like human beings. So if you know a bit about ionic bonding, I will say that it actually relates to, for example, couple in the early years of their courtship.
Oh, okay, courtship and ionic bonding.
Yes. Early years, remember that. Right, where one party, all right, usually if you know that the metal, will always give, and the other party, the non-metals, always receive. All right, but however, right, you realize at the end of the day, both actually are very happy. They achieve happiness in the process. All right, why? Because it always leads them to a very stable noble gas configuration. So I guess you are able to relate that to something that they can think about it in their own life, or even maybe laugh about it. Right. I think that's one thing that they'll remember when they leave our lesson.
Powerful, powerful. Thank you very much, Jackie. Well said. And truly understanding how students learn better in terms of helping them to make personal relevance, that they can process the knowledge in their own language. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today technology gives us more space and freedom for students to take ownership. But the reality is this: just as we teachers are struggling with technology, students themselves either don't have or may not have that access. And even if they have, they are used to Instagram, TikTok, this, that, but they hardly use technology for learning, at least not in a meaningful way. How might we empower and enable students to learn differently today? Let me bring on one of my close friends. This guy, I taught him when 30 years ago. Oh my gosh, I just revealed my age. He was my student when I was a young teacher. Tim, tell us more about differentiation.
Hi, actually it's 20 years ago. I'm not
20 years
ago. Anyway, so I usually differentiate teaching in class. I think the main thing is that when we differentiate, we look at content, process, and product, as well as environment. And with technology, the whole environment changes. True. Yeah. More importantly is that when we enter the class, we find that every single student is different, right? So there are some students who actually can finish their work within 10 minutes and they can start going on, flying ahead without us helping them, right? Then there are those students who need us to be there with them the whole 1 hour or so to guide them and help them. And that's where DI or differentiated instruction comes in. Right. So we can help them reach the level that we want them to reach in the first place.
Awesome. You know, in fact, talking about our friend here, hey, my friends and colleagues from Philippines, this young man does me proud as his teacher. Just 3 days back, it was announced on Singapore that he's received an award for innovation for one of the Singapore top teachers. So please congratulate my young man here. The reality is this: we all have different pathways of learning. If I was to be a nasty, bad science teacher back then, I would say, study science, don't learn English. Forget about literature, forget about language, right? He might be a science teacher today, but he may not be a happy one. But this young man does me proud by writing books today. His books are so well published. I was told he has a fan club in the Philippines as well, right? And he even has a YouTube channel, and one of his videos talked about differentiated instruction. Thank you, Tim. But ladies and gentlemen, let's pull this back. As we learned with relevance, one of the things that I haven't seen people mentioning in this part about relevance is this: just as it clicks, but do you realize that energy is also lost? And when energy is also lost, there's a lot of dissonance. With resonance comes dissonance. This is the part that we are now all struggling with. In times like this, how do we manage and mediate dissonance? How do you actually allow students to struggle with failure? And how do you allow us to break free from that mindset? In Carol Dweck's terms, she talks about growth and fixed mindset. But to me, we are a mix of both. But the situation right now challenges us to really look at how can we break free from this. We've done one exercise earlier on force connection. And in part of force connection, one of my key piece of research for 6 years is this: why do people don't like creativity? Because of uncertainty. Because in creativity, you must fail. We fail in order to find a better solution. You fail in order to say, hey, how can I go on next? And this leads me to the next part. While I shared the strategy of force connection and how our friends in the Philippines also find a way to break through, question to us is, how do you mediate some of these dissonance? Clearly, the spheres of my Newton pendulum do not reverberate by itself. They hit onto each other. They allow the different spheres to gain and take lead. Not all the spheres are similar. The spheres are of slightly different shapes, sizes, and cracks. And I think the part about learning together, that we as teachers unlearn our old habits. We as teachers have the humility to say, I'm not sure. Why don't you take the lead? One of the things about equality and inequality of learning is this. Well, we can talk about differentiated instruction, but the way that we teach The way that curriculum is designed and structured is still highly analytical and structural. And let's face it, guys, our students, they are those who love to express themselves. There are students who think differently. There are students who need a different mode of learning. How might we use this chance to allow different students to take the lead? Learning and motivation goes hand in hand. If I don't illuminate this, clearly you realize that they may not swing together. And so, with some of the best ideas, challenge your students to say, how might I be able to teach you? And how might I learn from you? Let me say that question again. Let's use this question, because when students are given the chance to say what means to them, the motivation goes up. Ask them tomorrow, ask them on Monday, how might I learn with you and from you? But one thing's for sure, in all learning, besides humility, it takes courage. Creativity without courage and boldness to try something different really is just a lot of ideas, great novelty, but if we don't have the boldness to try it, the lesser we are ready to try new ideas. I'm going to try something different. Today, I am not going to do a full Monte. My friends on Zoom, get ready. I have chosen a K-pop song called Birthday. And I'll keep this as a secret, but ask any of the panelists here. For the past 6 years, I have never celebrated birthdays. In fact, for the past 6 years, I hate birthdays. And there's a reason why. But today, I'm going to take a model, that walk of faith, and say, from today onwards, we are all going to celebrate birthdays. What does birthday mean to you? I know before 2014 that birthdays are an exciting time of celebration. What does birthday mean to you? Birthdays are a time of playing, having fun, and of course recognizing that we have something to look forward to. Today, I'm going to model for you with our friends from Philippines. So I hope Facebook Live, if you see your friends there, gentlemen, ladies, are you ready? Hands up, please. Everybody on your feet up. And I'm going to invite my Singapore guests. Let's come together. We're going to do a K-pop dance, So Me, Birthday. Let's go. Woo!
Hey boy, how you doing? 뻔한 인사 난 할래. 딱 잘라서 말할게. 하루하루 지루해. 내 말이 못하면 나는 자기라도 해. 내가 원하는 너보다 내가 원하는 걸 원해. I got other boys coming round to my yard. I'm shaking that thing like a Polaroid. I give me that ooh, you give me that too. It's always a surprise when I step up in the room. It's like 이제 내 멋대로 매일매일. 절대 없을 거야 지루하지. It don't make me feel baby. 새로운 나를 다시 태어날 자리가. So okay, okay. 이기적인 하지만 어떡해. So okay, okay. I'ma shake it, shake it, shake it like you want my birthday. Hey, I'ma shake it, shake it, shake it like you want my birthday. Oops, you're not invited. Yeah, you're not invited. Oops, you're not invited. 오늘은 마음대로 할래. Every day is my birthday. Yeah, it goes bang bang, 어떤 upshot. 터치려 fireworks, 심장이 팡팡. 마주치면 나 감탄을 like fun. 그럼 난 반응은 당연한 like done. Well, alright. And who better get you move my mind? turn on 말고 오늘처럼 내 맘대로 줘. 이제 날 멋대로 매일매일. 절대 없을 거야 지루하지. It don't make me feel baby. 네가 알던 난 여기 없으니까. So okay, okay. 이기적인 하지만 어떡해. So okay, okay. I'ma shake it, shake it, shake it like you want my birthday. I'ma shake it, shake it, shake it like you want my birthday. Oops, you're not invited. Yeah, you're not invited. Oops, you're not invited. 오늘은 내 맘대로 할래. Every day is my birthday. it's my birthday. 나에게 순간 시간 멈춰서 take a look. 내가 잘 태어나서 잘난 걸 어떡해. 내가 잘 태어나서 잘난 걸 어떡해. Oops, you're not invited. Yeah, you're not invited. Oops, you're not invited. 오늘은 내 맘대로 할래. Every day is my birthday. Yeah.
Yeah! Well done, everyone! Thank you, guys. Oh. Steph, come. Clearly, are you panting? You guys are not panting. You're playing cheat. At least act that you're tired. Oh. There's power in exercise. There's a lot of power in exercise. How does exercise change the way we learn? Steph, tell us a bit more.
All right. Hi, I'm Stephanie. So how does exercise change your mind? Okay, so we always implement dance into workout. So that's what we did for K-cardio dance. Okay, so nowadays K-pop are in trend. So we bring K-pop into the dance and then we work out. All right, so catchy songs like that, okay, will stimulate people's brain. Wow, this song is really catchy. You will start to want to move, right? So once you do that, okay, the body will follow with a rhythm. All right, so over here, the muscles will recognize how your body moves. And at the same time, it also open up creative juice, how the body flow, okay, with the movement. So for those who don't dance, that's why we have these simplified movements, okay, in K-cardio dance, so that people who can't dance but want to learn dancing, okay, to move better. Okay, so you realize the movements are all simplified, all repeated movements. Yeah, that's how they start learning dance. And then from there, they will push on to become better. And they,
I'm so distracted.
Example right here, John.
Hey,
right?
thank
Not
you.
just that, okay, it also helps to stimulate the brain, all right? Best for Parkinson patients.
Thank you.
Yeah, it helps to improve their physical movements, activate their brain juice, okay, and then help them through the recovery. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Steph. Well said.
Thank you.
And truly, as we look at now the way that times are changing, we are very clear on this. Can we still tell students, don't go into TikTok, don't bother about K-pop? We can't, because it's so ingrained in their everyday lives. I'm not asking us to all become BTS fans or Blackpink, right? But the fact is, how might we better understand their world? And how might their world change our way of doing? In my teaching, I always give this special number, 2617. I'm not asking you to go and buy lottery. 2617. What do you think 2617 mean? You want to take a guess, Steph?
2617.
Something to do with technology and 2617.
It didn't cross my mind. Is it in Mandarin or dialect?
Oh my gosh. 2617 is the number of times.
2617.
It has to do with
Oh.
to do with something in technology. No?
I'm pretty an IT idiot here though. I can only dance.
Thank you. 2617 is the number of times an adult touches a phone every day. 2,617 times. Either you click, you like, you swipe, you check your Facebook, you check your email. 2617 is the number of times that we touch our phone. That's for adults. Imagine for the students, would it go up or does it go down? Can you imagine? This is scary, right? The dependence on technology requires us to find new pattern interrupts. I use pattern interrupts as a way to re-engage the brain. Dance is a way to pattern interrupt, to say, come on guys, let's come back into action. We use pattern interrupts to allow students to make connections. We use pattern interrupts to enable the students to say, how is this useful? Question is pattern interrupt. Discussion is a pattern interrupt. There's a lot of power in dance, music, and arts. And that's why in our work, I strongly advocate holistic learning, even dance on digital, can be a fun way. And more importantly, truly, when we bring people together, it's not about he's a better dancer than me, but about are we all having fun? It's about going with the flow, it's about the human connection. And that to me is so powerful. Thank you, Steph. I'm going to invite Thank you. Albert, join me. On the very last section, I'm going to invite my two guests, Albert as well as Reverend Dr. Peter Poon, to talk a bit more about the last dimension of relearning. In relearning, you exemplify that for me, because in your work, and I know him very well from his passion to work with young people, he has this vision of teaching young kids architecture. And that to me is a wild thing. Well, because when I was young, I wanted to be an architect, but I didn't have the resources and all that to do. And so for him to bring that to a level for young children, to appreciate architecture, even for young kids, it's amazing. Tell us a bit more, where's the dimension of logic and architecture and all that you're doing?
Okay, I think from the architecture standpoint, right, there's a very interesting phrase called less is more. I mean, just now you guys talk about teaching less, speak more, right? So when such philosophy brought into architecture and education, I thought there's a lot of interesting resonance. And I remember when I was in architecture school, there was always this deep sinking feeling that education or learning of architecture is beyond just building physical buildings. Like, so when I went into the practice in 2012, so starting to build schools or airports, you know, I don't quite find that same satisfaction that the deep inside me kind of like feels, even though everyone say, hey, that's a good job, you know, why not just stay on and press on and be a great architect? But something inside me tells me that there is an inner purpose in me that I couldn't quite find that fit. Right. So when the opportunity kind of arise, kind of say that, hey, you know, there's an intuition that in the gut feeling tells me that I need to move to the next step to cross path these two disciplines. Right. Neither of them are bad, they are good. And I think that was my subconsciousness going too fast, faster than my consciousness.
Say that again. The subconsciousness.
Yeah, so intuition is like my subconsciousness going too fast in the processing of the situation that my conscious state cannot understand.
Interesting. And you know, before you continue to elaborate, this brings me back into some of the critical empirical research around creativity. E. Paul Torrance and many others who have done studies on how the creative mind works talks about this power of serendipity as well as incubation. I see him as an example of one who is deeply passionate. And in incubation, the idea of a lot of work, a lot of good thinking, a lot of me troubleshooting, dealing and meddling and breaking things and modeling. And he does that in architecture, don't you?
Yes, he does that all the time.
Right? But yet, what drives that is the need to be able to merge with how that allows the passion and the drive to come across. So thank you so much. And finally, I want to invite Reverend Dr. Peter Poon to share a bit more about the dimension of hope and faith. Why hope and faith? How is this related to all that we talk about? Seems distant, but let's discuss a bit.
I believe it was John Donne in the 17th century poet who said, no man is an island. Really, it's very important for us to think about that because in the COVID-19 world, it is a fragmented world, it's divided, it's divisive, and everyone is on its own. I think we need to come back again and think about what it means to bring people back into a way of interrelational, helping us to build a better world to come. Jesus Christ in Luke chapter 2 talks about growing in 4 areas, in stature, in wisdom, favor with God and with men. And these are 4 areas we talk about: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. And so it is important for us to think about how that relate together and help students to understand that it is not just about curriculum. It's not just about something I learned in terms of knowledge, but it is related to a whole. So we need to think about how to have a holistic understanding of education. I believe that that's really what we need to go into the world in the future. And that's very important for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Reverend Peter Poon. The fact is this, as we close and before we lead into the final part of question and answer, this talk is for everyone. Let's be honest. For a long time, we have taught education from learning objectives. The education department has given us the scheme of work. Teachers' job is to unpack the planned curriculum and to enact in the classroom. Oftentimes, we talk about character education, we talk about spirituality, perhaps from the chaplain or from the father sharing and speaking and encouraging us. But I think COVID-19 has given us this opportunity to rethink about how learning should and must come with the dimension of why is this still important? And the spiritual development of every child really is our responsibility. We don't just teach here. We teach learning from here, here, and here. That's why architecture, that's why art, that's why dance, and that's why subject matter knowledge, because all of these really comes in the work and the research that I do on transdisciplinary learning. When we talk about transdisciplinary, a child's ability to bring knowledge into context, a child's ability to enact curriculum from a standpoint to say, this is important, I need to take agency, I need to own this, and I think I can do something about that. All of these goes beyond just here. How might we now bring that spiritual part of saying, who are you, my child? Who are you, my student? Where's your voice in this world? What matters? Bring the ethics, bring the dilemmas, bring the tensions. We are no longer perfect. Come on. Hey, we know what's happening in US, right? I'm apolitical. Really? Maybe I am. But the fact is, today, things are no longer just black and white. We can't even trust what our leaders always say, because nobody knows the future, only God. Whether you believe in God, but the fact is there is a greater being that enables us to learn and learn meaningfully. I want to close this time with just tying some of these things together. As I invite us to just close our eyes. We don't need music. We don't need any other factors. Just close our eyes. This synopsis of this webinar started asking us to touch our hearts. For the longest time, we always touch our brains. But how does our brain connect to what is meaningful? How does our brain inform us as educators of helping our students to choose, to learn, and to sense purpose? Meaning is co-construction. If we are still stuck and boxed up in the way that we look at learning from covering a syllabus, that will too diminish and fade away. At this moment, I invite that spiritual part of us, that part of, yes, I can do it, the part of, I love my job, the part of, I love my students, the part of teaching as a calling. The professional labor encompasses more than just me preparing good lessons. The emotional labor of teaching is one that suppresses and makes us feel that it is tough. But when true meaning happens in the way that we teach, the way that we invite students, the way that we bring their voice in, the way that we say, it's all out there in the world, but choose and choose wisely and make into something that you own and you're proud of. I dare to bring my students who are now teachers on board because I'm proud of every one of them. We all struggle. But times like this, may God allow and empower our struggles to bring us together and not to divide us further. As we open our eyes, smile. Smile because there's hope. Smile because we're in this together. And smile because there's PAC there. I'm joking. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. High five, everyone. Zoom, guys. High five. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's go into question and answer. Give me 10 seconds. Let me catch a water break. Pressy, this is back to you. I'll see you in 2 minutes, 1 minute time on my Zoom one-to-one. Pressy, to you.
All right. Yeah, John, we have just one question here for you and a few comments that I'm sure you'd love to hear. Okay, First question, John, um, this is for you, and perhaps if our panelists, our guests would also like to answer, what is really the best time screen time for elementary pupils? What is the best screen time for elementary pupils?
I will ask my best friend, which is Google, or Hey Siri. But you know, the reality is there really isn't a best. COVID has opened a lot of things that we used to think as best practices, or we used to think as important. But today, what do we do with kids when the parents are not around, or when the parents are still fighting for a job? And at the same time, we really can't have our hands around them. We are easy to condemn parents to tell them, you're allowing your child too much screen time. But the fact is, perhaps that's the only way to let the parents still get a job. Do you agree with me? It's about understanding, saying, hey, how do we then teach students to say, what else can we do? What other fun things can you find? Is there a project you want to work upon? Right? And start to push and give them that ownership of learning. So I really don't think that is the best, right? Of course, physical health, the eye, the body, emotion. One thing about technology that we need to recognize is this. There's a part about technology that sucks us and binds us into it. And when we lose control of that, whether technology or otherwise, the fact is they are hooked. There's hook. They are hooked because they are effective mediums. They are hooked because they capture the attention. They are hooked because they know what kids like. So I can tell you best and say 4 hours is best. But the fact is, even if I take away their mobile devices, their minds are still in there. It's not about screen time. It's not even about mind time. It's about your time. How do you guard your time? I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for that, John. We have some comments here from our Facebook audience. Allow me to read them to you. Here's one from Ubles Baguio. I would like to highlight the speaker and other resource persons' energy, passion, and joy in sharing their insights. That's the way it should be when we teach, even through online platform. Setting personality, creativity of strategies, and teaching aids and content really matter in a meaningful teaching for understanding. So that's from Ubles Baguio. Then we have another one here from Clarissa Franco. The design on how the talks were delivered was exceptional, highly admirable, especially Professor John Yo. Thank you.
Hey.
Here's another one from Reza Pestano. She said, very inspiring way of delivering webinar with mindfulness and a brain break. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Doris and the whole PAC Secretariat for this wonderful treat for Teachers Day. God bless and keep safe always.
Amen.
And here's another one from Ivan Ray Lakbayo, the kind of speaker that can help you stimulate your brain and likewise that have that jazz vibes.
Ooh.
And I think we have one more here. It's fun. The webinar so far has been fun, entertaining, and informative from Perfecto Prias.
Thank you. Can I just jump in? And I want to highlight this. I mean, the fact is this is webinar, and this is where Facebook Live is open access to the whole world. But can I also assure teachers and even parents out there, the reality is, I think I'm a good teacher. I pride myself in loving my job, and I enjoy teaching very much. But I also know that kids today are very different. What might be your source of inspiration? My source of inspiration is when students struggle, but yet they are willing to share with me why they're struggling. My source of inspiration is when students tell me, "Ch," short for teacher, "can you help me?" Why do I say that? I'm not like this every day, right? Most of the time I'm shy. Most of the time, most of the time, wait, you got a problem? Why? What's wrong, huh? What's wrong? Sorry, noise behind, huh? They think that most of the time I'm shy and then I'm introvert. But the fact is this, in the classroom, when we have to teach from day to night, especially today with technology, if you are teaching via Zoom, I'll tell you this, Zoom fatigue is even scarier than jumping from class to class, right? Working and teaching on Zoom is so tiring. Tiring because if I truly care about how my students learn, I'll be tired because I keep wondering, are you learning? Show me you're learning. Are you struggling? How do I know whether you're struggling? Look, I'm now at your level where I'm now seated like you. And I'll tell you, it is very hard for me to assess whether you are enjoying learning or not, because where should your eyes be focused when you are on the Zoom meeting? Most of the time, your eyes will be looking at the students and saying, "Hey, why are you not paying attention? Why is your eyes looking somewhere else?" But today I'll tell you, even if their eyes is looking at you, it doesn't mean that they are paying attention. So that's very, very tiring because you can no longer assess if you want to tell how motivated are they, whether they are learning or not. And to teachers who think that you're not creative, one of the things that I always teach in my master's course and in my research says this, it is not whether you are creative or not. It is how are you creative? Let me ask this again. It is not whether you are creative or you're not creative. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues, teachers, this is not an option. It is about how are you creative. And the fact is, if you're still in the teaching service, you are creative because there is something in the way that you teach, be it your subject matter knowledge, be it your care for students, or be it even your own passion that speaks to our learners. Now, that is something about your personal creativity. Not all students like big bombastic actions. There are students who just don't want to dance. Allow them. There are some students who just don't want to answer questions. Trust them. One of the things I feel strongly for is how might we be able to trust our learners more? You want your students to speak up. You want your students to care. Then if the trust is not there, it's tough. And that's why the first part, what resonates? First, find out what resonates with your learners. Final questions.
We don't have any more questions from our Facebook audience, but let's see if we have, we may have some questions from our Zoom participants.
Oh, they are scary. They're gonna ask a lot of questions.
Come. For
no questions, we're gonna dance again. I see the teacher in me. Hello guys, questions?
Do we have questions from Benji, Gino, those who are right now running schools, teaching?
Good morning, everyone. Hi, Ma'am Doris. Hi, John. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this webinar. And thank you, PAC, with so many preparations for the opening of classes and how we can deliver our classes online or digital. Ngayon ko lang naramdaman that we are celebrating Teachers Month. So, yeah. And thank you so much, PAC, for this wonderful treat. And thank you so much, John, for giving us your energy here in the Philippines. We are now so inspired to move on, to go on, to do our job and responsibilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
John, thank you for calling us out, Mom Doris. That forces us to speak. Okay. Good morning, John. Thank you to also to those who are staying with us on Facebook. John, I just have one question.
Yes.
Do you get tired?
You can hear the laughter behind.
Because somebody just messaged me and said that, look at how animated he is. He reminds me of you. At the end of the day, those who know me might say that, wow, that's like, John can generate electricity in the Philippines and solve our energy crisis. No? But do you get tired, my friend?
Of course. I get very tired. But you know, in the research of creativity, under Csikszentmihalyi's work, he talked about the concept of flow. And to me, I'd rather choose to be in a state of flow. And when I am out of my zone, I take time to rest my mind and my brains. Because you see, and I talked about incubation earlier. Incubation allows that generation of aha. That aha moment comes only when I work hard enough or when my energy and my resources are invested in something that I truly am passionate about. That allows that generation of new ideas to come only when the mind is able to allow the synapse to connect. I talk about my work in neuroscience, right? And I'm very, very into neuroscience because how the mind works has also something to do with my own history. And we shared about this yesterday, right? And to me, sometimes really the mind is so powerful, but how do you control? You can't really control, but how do you actually manage them? Right? Of course I get tired, right? But what drives me? Those people that you meet earlier, they drive me. They drive me because they are people who believe with me in my mission of edifying people by designing impact. All knowledge is futile if we can't translate that into actions. And how actions will be futile if they no longer allow that generation of a sense of hope. And that's why to me, COVID may be painful, and it really is. Right? But how do I find hope with my friends? How do I find hope in what anchors me? And that's why when we started today, I asked you, pick an object that is personally relevant and meaningful. Because days that I'm tired, I just allow that object to occupy my mind. When I talk about pendulum, I love it and I hate it. Because in physics, when I learned about Newton's 3 laws in a Sec 3, I didn't memorize them. And I failed my first physics test. And I was so disappointed. But because of that failure, it made me realize, hey, actually there's power in understanding how movement happens, how energy is lost, how energy is given. Guarding yourself, that energy level, it matters. But when I'm doing my work, when I'm with my students, I want to be here 100% for you. Because I need to model that despite me being tired, it's my job to serve you. I always ask this question, and I want to end this final bit throwing this question back to you. When your students don't learn, let me say that again. When your students don't learn, whose fault is it? If I throw a target, if I throw a dart and it doesn't hit the target board, whose fault is it? Our job is to train them well enough and to guide them and to encourage them so that they hit the bull's eye and their success is shared and co-owned because they celebrate with you. And that to me is my job, where I no longer see myself as the sage on the stage, but I see myself as a meddler. No, not mad, but M-E-D-D-L-E-R, as a meddler on the side, where I bring the best resources, where I bring things that I can't find within me or around me. And I bring them to my child and I say, student, which of these will help you to learn better? During those times, I admit in full humility that I don't know. And I truly want to say this, it's okay to not know. Because that's also part of our learning process, where we co-create learning and knowledge together with our learners. I hope that helps us to have a deeper insight into your calling as well.
Thank you, John. Indeed, teaching is not, this is not really an easy job.
But I love it. I love teaching. Do you love teaching? High five if you love teaching again. High five. Woo!
Singaporeans, let's clap!
Thank you, John. On that note, I'd like to thank our guests from our speaker, of course, John Yo, and our guests from Singapore, and also our guest here in the Philippines from the different regions of our country. And with the special participation of Father J. Boy Gonzalez, thank you for staying in this webinar. Okay. I hope this webinar has inspired our teachers. This is for you, dear teachers. Continue that passion. We hope you continue to be creative for our students and believe, have faith always, and let's hope that, continue to hope that things will get better soon. Thank you, everyone. Okay, that ends our webinar now.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, John.
사랑해요.
감사합니다.
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 네. 네.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
everyone. Keep in touch. God bless.
Very well done. Congratulations, PAC.
Are we still live? Are we still live?
Yes, yes, we're still live.
We're still live.
Oh, let's dance.
We're still live.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Photo, John.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Picture.
Picture. Go.
Did it.
No longer live. Okay. We're not live anymore, no? All right, let's have a quick photo op. Is John still here?
Start our videos.
Someone, may nag-stop sa video ko.
Ang video.
Yeah.
On the
Yes, stop.
Alan, si
Okay.
Francis.
We can start.
Wala na si John.
Sherwin, are you still there?
We can start.
Oh.
Wala si John?
Wait.
Wala na si John.
Yung,
Sherwin is still here. Sherwin, are you still there?
yung video ko hindi ma-on.
Yeah.
Ano?
May nag-stop daw.
Sherwin.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Mine too.
Thank you for dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the
Cannot
dance.
start your video
Magdadance.
because the host has stopped it.
Gino's not here. And Dr. Doliete.
Alan pa on
No,
the...
it's their video, I think po.
Yeah.
Oo, lahat.
Ano, Gino? Ganun ka na dapat, ha? How to video po. Oo.
Sir Gino, mas may energy, mas may ano pala, mas meron pang mas energetic kesa sa'yo.
Sorry? Kami lindo lang Davao dahil kay Mario. Ano bang nangyari?
Oo nga eh.
Tumindol po din. Sino ba taga Davao dito?
Ako.
Sino to?
Hindi pa nakaano yung...
Francis po, father.
Ay, Francis.
Video.
Oo.
Junior high school.
Junior high school.
Anong gagawin natin kay
Saan
John?
floor ka, Father?
Ha?
Saling floor ka?
10th floor.
Ayun na lang.
Diyos ko. 10th floor, mas malakas sa iyo.
Photoshop na lang yung picture ni ano.
Let's have a photo op na tayo na lang na wala si Sherwin nandyan pa eh. But I don't know if he can hear me. Can you prompt Sherwin to turn on his video? Si Sherwin. Sherwin is with John. He's still there.
Rafi also. Hindi ko tuloy napag-recite si Rafi, ha, Rafi?
Nandiyan si Rafi.
Para pala graded recitation kanina eh.
Naku, kakaba.
Ma'am Doris, handang-handa pa naman ako, Ma'am Doris, sa akin para Pernalias.
Ang buong San Beda, Benji. Ano nangyari?
Pero nakita niyo ba yung sayo ni Miss
Tinerko.
Lerma? Yung sayo ni
Yes.
I-replay natin yun paulit-ulit sa
Huwag nga
PAC
kayong bully.
website.
Nananahimik lang ako.
Ay,
Dito pang ano,
We
no?
love you,
Inset.
Bullying
Energizer.
is not allowed.
Kailan ba? Dr. Lerma sa October 12.
Ano meron sa October 12, Francis?
Inset po dyan.
Ganon?
Pwede gamitin pang ano,
Game.
Energizer.
Sige.
Breaker ba?
Magkasama tayo, Gino.
Yes. Yung video nyo, ma'am, ipi-play namin sa lahat ng subjects.
Huwag kayong bastos.
Love you!
Kailan ba opening ninyo?
Ano nga si Sherwin? Ayan.
Bakit inset? Opening.
Nag-start na tayo ng August 24. Per region tayo. Running per region.
Yes.
Oo. Kaya nahihimatay na si Gina Montalan sa amin.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's have a quick photo op. Smile. One more. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you. It was fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Miss Doris. Thank you, Percy.
Thank you, Miss
Percy,
Doris.
salamat.
Thank you, Miss Doris.
Percy, salamat.
Maraming
Doris.
salamat.
Kung nakita si Dr.
Marami po sa
wala the moves.
Oo nga.
Sherwin, are you there? Nandiyan pa, is John there? John, Sherwin is still here. Sherwin is
Benji, kamusta ka na?
Hi,